Hi guys, and today we'll be looking at an all new tooled locomotive from Hornby, and this is the British Railway Standard 9F, and this was announced in the 2021 range, I believe. The product code for this one is R3987. Okay, it's all new tooled. It's in BR livery and it's got the lake crest. So let's see how good this thing is, and does it stand up to the previous ones that manufacturers have done in the past, shall we? So before I tell you what's in the detail bag, I just want to mention the box it came in. Hornby have gone down the route of all the other manufacturers with hard cardboard and foam inside, and then you got the block of ice as well, protect the locomotive. Very good, nothing was damaged. As we move on to the detail pack, as you can see, it is resealable, which is always good. In this you get a front coupler, you also get AWS guards, steps for the right and left side. You also get a vacuum pipe and you get the tender brake rodding as well. You also get some drain cocks as well, which are painted. There's a few things there are painted as well. You also get the chains as well, the hook for the front. It's not separately applied or anything like that. They're already in the detail pot, so you got to add them yourself. Failing that, it's a lot in there and it's quite good. At least Hornby went through all of painting it and give you some crew as well. As we move on to the front of the locomotive now, starting at the bottom of the locomotive, we do have the hole for the coupler that's in the detail bag. We also have some irons to knock stuff off the tracks. Moving on up, we do have small metal sprung buffers, and they are very springy, very delicate, very nice. The buffer beam and housings are in red. We have lots of rivets on the buffer beam. We also have some holes for the detail parts. Vacuum pipe and the chain link coupling and hook, they are in the detail bag, but the holes are there for it as well. Moving on up, we do have a few more rivets just before the 3 lamp irons. We also have some bracing and the odd step dotted around. We also have some more bracing as well at the top going towards smoke deflectors. The smoke deflectors themselves are separately applied and do have handrails on there. Speaking of separately applied stuff, we also have a split box start. We have a small handrail at top. We also have the number of this fine locomotive, which is 92194, if I've got that correct. We also have a shed code. The shed code is 40B Ingram, something like that, if I've got that correct. And the livery for this locomotive is in black. And at the top we have a chimney, it's a double chimney as well. As we move on to the side of the locomotive, both sides of the locomotive to me are exactly the same, apart from the other side has some separately applied piping underneath the cab, which I think is bronze or gold. And this side has the reverser, which I think is a metal one. It's quite a small one, it's there. The wheel configuration for this locomotive is a 210O, and it's a Riddles design, it's BR Standard 9F. The rods and linkage are all metal, it's all fine, fairly delicate, runs lovely, I might add. The axle and the wheels are all covered up in black. It's fantastic. The middle wheel does have no flange. It's correct. It's how it was designed. And we also have that hole in the centre between the boiler and the wheels, which is correct for this type of locomotive. Hornby have gone to a lot of trouble here. Like I said before, the smoke deflectors are separately applied. They do have small handrails on there, and they also have a electrical warning sign. We also have one near the cab and one near the gold piping that's going up from the running board up halfway to the boiler. They are separately applied, as well as one on the other side too. Speaking of the boiler is die cast. It's cold to touch, so it's die cast. I don't think the running board is die cast, I think it's plastic, but anyway, it's die cast. It's a lovely touch, gives it some heavy weight. Delivery is a BR black with no lining whatsoever. We do have a small handrail going around, and we also have the odd washout plug dotted around. And then as we get towards the cab itself, we have some of that separately applied piping, which is very delicate. And then we have the glazing in the cab. The cab side itself, like I said, the other side does have the gold piping, this side doesn't. We also have the number crisply applied on this locomotive, which is 92194. It's an Eastern loco built at Swindon. We also have the classification as well. We also have one of the things sticking out the windows to protect the crew, if I got this correct as well. As we move on to the cab detail and the front of the tender, Hornby have not let us down with this cab at all. This cab has been painted cream inside. All the windows you see do have glazing, apart from 2 that the crew lean out of. All the pipes are painted. We also have some regulators painted as well in red. The dials have numbers and a dial on, obviously in a white background. The water gauge does have water by the looks of it as well. We do have a wood flooring effect going on there too. We also have a small window at the back of the cab to the tender, and then on the other side we don't have a window at all, it's just cut away, which is correct. This locomotive does have flickering firebox and it's quite bright on any speed, which is good, and you can get it on analog as well. Like I said, the cab hasn't let you down at all. It's a fantastic cab. Hornby have gone to a lot of trouble with that. Fine painting, fine detail, the whole works with that. As we move on to the front of the tender, I want to call it, we do have these doors already applied at the side. We do have the brake levers and water levers, I think they are, painted in red. We do have some coal load coming out. The coal load itself is removable from the tender. We do have some cupboards and doors for the firemen. Like I said, it's a highly detailed cab and front of tender. Hornby have, like I said, not let us down. As we move on to the side of the tender, now both sides of the tender are exactly the same to me. On this tender you do get the doors already applied to the tender on both sides. You also get the late crest. This is a late crest version. We also get lots of rivets peppered on the tender itself. I believe this is a BR1F tender. There's some handrails at the side of the tender as well. Moving on down, we also get the axle boxes covered in yellow. I have forgot what that means. It does mean something. We also have the steps either side as well. Everything down there is crisply made. It's fantastic. We have springs and axles as well, like I've said, and we also have holes in the tender to look through. As we move on to the back of the tender now, the back of the tender does have the coupling already applied. It also has the iron to knock stuff off the tracks. Moving on up, we do have metal sprung buffers. We also have the buffer beam and housing in red with a few rivets dotted around. The hook is already applied on this back one. On the front it wasn't. We also have a hole for details as well. Moving on up, we do have some lamp irons separately applied. I think there's 4 there. The back of the tender is black like the rest of the model. We also have a few plaques dotted around for coal and water, I guess, and for electrical warnings. We also have a ladder as well. Then we have a lamp iron in the centre between the 2 plaques. Then at top we also have some more details too. And there is lots and lots of rivets on the back of this tender as well. Hopefully my camera will pick up the rivets on the locomotive as well. As we do an aerial view now on top of the tender, starting in the usual place, we do have the top of the ladder. We also have a water filler cap there as well, which I don't think opens. We also have a dome. We have a small cylinder and a square black thing lifting up. I don't know what these are. I do apologise. I think there's a few rivets on top as well. The top is in black. Moving over to the coal load itself is very good. The correct size, I believe, as well. The coal load does come out, but I'm having trouble getting mine out. We do have some bracing between the water and the coal load. We also have 2 sticky up things that I don't know what they are. Someone told me they're for air, but I'm really unsure. Where the coal load is, the top of the tender does bend in a little bit. And then we also have the fireman stuff at the end or the front of the tender, depending on your preference. As we do a bird's eye view on top of the locomotive now, starting at the cab area again on the roof. The roof does have some straight rain ducts. Top of the roof is in black, obviously, like the rest of the locomotive. The air vents do move, which is a good touch. There's no rivets on there, it's just lovely. Just moving forward a bit from the cab roof, we do have this separately applied piping, which is wonderful. Very detailed, very nice. We also have a whistle in there, which I think the whistle might be metal, if I've got this correct. We do have the firebox and the washout plugs as well. Moving along a little bit more, we do have the metal safety valves. We also have the banding for the boiler if it was to be lined. Then we have the dome, which I think is separately applied as well. We also have them piping going up from the chassis. They are just between the dome and the chimney. I think the chimney itself is separately applied. We do have the smoke deflectors as well. Like I said, the boiler itself is die cast, and there's a few electrical warning signs dotted around as well. And we have the small handrails too. So as we do an underneath look now at this locomotive, we do have some parts to add if you want to add the parts to go at the front where the buffer beam is and on the drain and the cylinders. The cylinders have the drain cups which are painted. Should be 3 holes on each cylinder for them. We also have the AWS and the front steps for the right and left side, depending on where you want to put them, obviously. They do go there. There's holes for them on the buffer beam. Moving along, we do have 4 screws to take off the base plate. The base plate does come away in one go, and that will show you that we have bearings underneath here, and I believe it's the 4th wheel along or second from the cab. Does have the cog to drive the wheels and stuff. When you take the base plate off, you do get the underframe detail like the springs and stuff. You also get the pickups. The pickups are only to the 4 flange wheels. The one that doesn't have a flange doesn't have any pickups. That's how Hornby have done it. Hopefully there'll be some on the tender. I haven't looked yet. And then if we move further down, we also have the piping on one side of underneath the cab. And then we also see the plug. There isn't really much to say. There's no brake rigging tag. I thought there might be, but seeing as this one doesn't have brake rigging at the locomotive. And the motor in this locomotive is a 5-pole screw round motor, I believe, as well. And finally, as we move on to the loco and tender connection and the tender itself, the loco and tender connection is the usual Hornby one, which is a plug across, and I think it's a plastic holder. If you want to move the holder closer, you can. Hornby show you how in the instructions. But yeah, it's an easy way, I like it, it does the job. We also have a few screws to take off the shell of the tender. In the manual it says only 2 at the back, but I could be wrong. And then you unplug that, oh, it comes off, and then you need a 21 pin decoder for this locomotive if you want to make it DCC. But it does come in with a blanking plate for 21 as well, and you can use a sugar cube if you want to add sand, and that goes underneath the chip in the tender. The chip is basically where the water scoop is, from my understanding. This tender does have all-wheel pickups, which is good, and there's a copper strip as well. We do have the brake rigging to add in the detail parts if you really wanted to. If you didn't, that's your preference. We also have a water scoop, like I said, as well, and then we have the NEM coupling at the back of the tender. So next up will be the usual second radius test and points, mainly because it's a big locomotive, and in the past some of my smaller locomotives don't like second radius. So here you go, shall we? Let's find out. Not too bad. What's that? 30 on the controller. It's pretty good actually. So yeah, I managed that pretty well, actually quite well actually for a big locomotive. I was really impressed with how it managed the point and the second radius as well. Next will be some slow speed, and I will find it a train to pull. So here goes. It can do 20. What a beast of a locomotive. Runs pretty well at slow speed as well. So guys, that's the end of the running session and review. Before I give my opinion, I'll show you what it ran with, which you probably guessed by now is a load of freight, just random freight. Something to do with Heritages, the LNER and the Great Western, and then behind it we have the Hornby Railroad 9F Evening Star, just there to see how improved it is, the new one, and it's a lot. I got this from Kerno Model Shop and I paid £216 for this one. This is DCC ready, and for that money it's well worth it. Like I said, it's got a load of features in this one. You've got the die-cast boiler, you've got pickups on I think almost all of the wheels, so yeah, it's really worth it. It does the job, it won't struggle over any points or anything. We've even got pickups in the tender as well as the locomotive. I think the railroad version that's out, I think that's just got in the loco, because it stems back from the 70s or 90s, I believe. But either way, it's well worth the money, £216. I know a lot of people moan about the prices this day and age, but it is what it is. If you know, it also has a die-cast boiler as well, which is really nice, really good, and it has that flickering firebox and sprung buffers as well. But it's all down to your preference. Are you willing to pay that much for a model like this, or buy the railroad version? For me, it's the ultimate 9F that's out on the market in any gauge for me, if I'm honest with you, and that's just my opinion. So yeah, it's a thumbs up from me. Let me know in the comments on your preferences. Do you like it? Do you not? I'll be interested to see. So anyway guys, hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye.